This man mistakenly entered the land of women. All the beauties applauded and welcomed him. He felt like an emperor inspecting the palace. Biological warfare led to the extinction of most men. Only women remain in the world. They abandoned the chaotic cities and returned to nature to establish a new home. Different from a patriarchal society, women have no interest in war. They focus on researching biotechnology and medicine, extending the average lifespan to 150 years. While women are striving to research asexual reproduction, they also select genetically outstanding individuals from surviving men for protection. However, due to viral mutations, the chances of women giving birth to male babies are slim. Male counterparts with inferior genes are abandoned outside the civilized world, unable to use the internet. Even a swimsuit poster is a treasure. In such a society, what kind of story will unfold when a man infiltrates the land of women? Let's follow Rada and start exploring. Rada is a 50-year-old female teacher. After eating breakfast prepared by an intelligent butler, she changes into disinfected clothes and goes out. There is free coffee available along the way. People on the street all have relaxed expressions, but Rada still has work to do. She doesn't have time to sort the garbage. She throws the bag into the trash bin. As a result, she is caught by the police. They deduct 5 credit points from Rada. Rada doesn't care. She stops a rickshaw and arrives at her workplace. She enters a vehicle with a strange design. This is Rada's classroom. The van drives to the city's outskirts. The guard opens the protective layer. Rada is taking her students on a visit to the primitive world. The girls are curious and taking photos continuously to allow them to observe the primitive people better. Rada leads the students into the slums. The lead girl is very curious about what men look like. She wants to observe further inside, but that violates the Hills Constitution. The girl says, "What kind of field trip is this? At most, it's a visit to a boring garbage factory." Rada's self-esteem is bruised. She considers herself the coolest teacher in Hills Town. She promises to take everyone to visit. Meanwhile, a group of bachelors gather at a restaurant. They see a group of women approaching. They suddenly shout with excitement. The female students are like visiting monkeys. She extends her hand to take selfies with them. The men feel disrespected. One man steps forward and takes off his pants to show off. The female student finds it amusing. She thinks the primates are intentionally playing around. Another girl is even bolder. She boldly steps forward and lifts her skirt. Rada thinks this behavior is too bold. She calls the students to leave. They return to the vehicle and do a roll call. They realize that a female student, Mira, is missing. She has been attracted by a gray goose. Rada rushes over anxiously. The students ask her what it is. Rada doesn't recognize it either. She speculates that it might be a type of quail. Just then, a man kills the goose with a swing. Both Rada and the student are startled. Suddenly, a man's voice is heard outside. He looks around and sees no one. He relieves himself right there. The man pulls Rada away to hide. They make eye contact. It seems sparks are flying. The man takes the opportunity to smell her hair. At this moment, the man behind the wall leaves. Rada stands up and thanks the man. Unable to resist, he kisses Rada. Terrified, Rada blows a whistle. This high-tech whistle can disrupt men. She takes the opportunity to pull the students and escape. Unexpectedly, just as she runs out, she is caught by a few men. Rada is brought before the leader. The men beside her start to touch her inappropriately. The young man named Herla from earlier decides to duel with the leader. They slap each other to determine the winner. The winner will get Rada. The leader sends the strong man, Max, to the stage. He lets Herla make the first move. Herla slaps Max. Max doesn't flinch. The surrounding audience starts cheering loudly. Now it's Max's turn. He swings his arm with force. Herla ducks down. Max's slap accidentally lands on the leader's face. The man is knocked out cold. Herla signals Rada to run quickly. He turns around and escapes in another direction. Rada returns to the vicinity of the vehicle. She activates a protective shield to repel the pursuers. Meanwhile, Herla hides at his grandfather's house. The men swarm and chase after them. Grandfather lies and claims that Herla jumped out the window to escape. Upon hearing this, someone jumps out the window, but ends up severely injured. Grandfather explains that maybe he ran upstairs. He even asks the men to help with the delivery. The men may indeed be lacking in intelligence. Surprisingly, they actually haul an iron barrel to deliver to the new world. They stand by the roadside, waiting for the truck. The truck contains genetically superior men. They are known as the Guardians. The men open the door to receive the barrel of batteries. Unexpectedly, the next moment, Herla emerges from the barrel. The Guardian initially planned to throw him away, but the vehicle is on autopilot. It can only slow down when approaching the city. He allows Herla to stay a little longer. Herla takes off his dirty clothes. He takes out a flask and takes a sip. The Guardian has never seen alcohol before. Curiously, he asks for a cup to try. As a result, he chokes and coughs. After a few rounds of drinks, the two of them became good buddies. Herla takes the opportunity to inquire about the Guardian, getting a general understanding of the other party's work. The Guardian got drunk. He opens the car door and shouts loudly. As a result, he gets scraped by a tree branch and falls off the car. Herla changes into his clothes. He prepares to blend in with the legendary to Hillstown. He looks at the well-built female driver, feeling like he has entered Heaven's Gates. On the other side, Rada gets scolded by her mother, blaming her for taking risks. However, her grandmother is quite open-minded. She even asks if the men she encountered were handsome. Her grandmother has always disliked the policies of to Hillstown. Rada doesn't understand. What difference does it make if someone is a monkey or not? She says goodbye to her grandmother and goes to talk to her girlfriend. The two of them lie down on the grass to relax. Suddenly, the sound of a bicycle bell rings. It turns out to be Herla riding a rickshaw passing by. The girls clap and welcome him. Rada isn't interested in the Guardian, without realizing that the person is Herla. As soon as Herla arrives at the base, he receives a warm welcome. According to the ceremonial requirements, Rada's mother, who is the Minister of Culture, while saying "I love you," she hugs Herla. Herla feels even more that this is a heavenly place on earth. He says, "I can't hug each one of them." Rada's mother smiles with satisfaction. She leads Herla into the Guardian's living area to enjoy high-quality services. Massages and baths are readily available. Herla anxiously says, "I don't need to rest. Let's get to business quickly." Rada's mother reluctantly leads him to the door of a room. Herla is curious. Why isn't the other person going in? Rada's mother says, "There are other people inside." As soon as Herla enters, he sees a chubby nurse. He feels frustrated. Little does he know that it gets worse. The chubby nurse takes out a vacuum cleaner-like device and places it on his body, starting the Guardian's routine work. Herla can help but think of Rada. The next day, Herla wakes up with the wake-up service of the smart butler. He walks to the window and gazes outside. Everywhere, there are women's joyful voices and laughter. Herla is in a wonderful mood. He listens to the chubby nurse's arrangement to go for a massage. He can't help but sneak a glance at the masseuse. While into Hillstown, once there is a boundary violation, it triggers an alarm. Even solving it by oneself is not allowed. The embarrassed Herla gets caught in the act, causing all the Guardians to be reprimanded together. Not only that, they also have to go for confession and apologize. On the way to the Rada statue, the downsides of being a Guardian start to show. Herla discovers his companions fart and have to file a report and then go to a dedicated space to handle it. And these people don't even think it's an issue. They are like domesticated dogs. Shortly after, everyone arrives at Rada's statue. The chubby nurse kneels down and apologizes. Herla takes advantage of her distraction and encourages the Guardians to swim in the lake. After all, if caught, they would only have to apologize to the statue. Herla becomes increasingly daring. He even leads them to grill fish and mushrooms. Unexpectedly, smoke triggers the alarm. A dark cloud floats over and rains to extinguish the fire. Several people get caught again and undergo punishment. Tomorrow, they have to go to the Patriarchy Museum for punishment. However, the Guardians don't blame Herla. They experience the taste of freedom for the first time. They decide to support Herla unconditionally. Herla takes out his own flask and shares it with everyone. Meanwhile, Juka, the Guardian who crashed the car, is actually picked up and brought to Herla's living place. The leader is interrogating him. Juka doesn't reveal Herla's whereabouts. This angers the leader. He has one of his fingers broken by the leader. The leader even orders his pants to be taken off. But in the next moment, everyone's jaws drop in shock. After all, the Guardians are carefully selected. Their physical conditions far surpass ordinary people. The most amusing part is, in this lawless area, men openly compete with each other over their sexual attributes. Juka instantly defeats the leader and takes the top spot. Grandpa takes in this Guardian. He even has someone help him cut his hair short, as long as they wait for one more week. When delivering goods to Hillstown, they can't send Juka back. Max's wife, being one of the rare women in the wilderness, she starts intentionally getting closer to Juka. The leader deliberately provokes Max's anger, challenging him to slap Juka. Unexpectedly, this Guardian is truly formidable. He can't take a slap and still stand up. He even knocks out Max. On the other side, inside Hillstown, Rada is deeply worried. She had saliva contact with a primate. If the female student reports it, the consequences will be unimaginable. Son, the trial regarding yesterday's incident begins. A judge dressed in peach pink appears. According to Hill's traditions, both the defense and prosecution are represented by mothers. If there are orphan children without mothers, they come apply for a free one in the city. At this moment, the students' parents accuse Rada, forcing the children to get close to primates. However, Rada's mother remains calm. Into Hill's law, there's a versatile provision. As long as the outcome is resolved well, the committee won't pursue it. They rely on this to maintain a 93% rate of acquittal. Victory was within reach, but Rada's mother wants to teach her daughter a lesson. By doing so, she wants her daughter to stay away from primates. Unexpectedly, she confesses during the second half of the defense. Rada refuses to accept it passively. She stands up and defends herself. She even has the Ven play the video from that day, proving that the students voluntarily requested a close encounter, just as Rada was about to achieve victory. Unexpectedly, a good friend reports Rada for kissing a primate. The judge sentences her to 80 hours of community service and rewards the informant with 20 social points. Rada looks at her friend, growing more and more disgusted with this hypocritical society. The next day, she goes to the guardian's living area to serve her sentence. Unexpectedly, she encounters her law. Rada recognizes the other person at a glance, but she can't figure out how he appeared into Hills. Her law is afraid of being exposed. He pretends to have twisted his ankle and goes to the infirmary to hide, but in the following time, he keeps glancing at Rada. The other guardians don't have a sense of romantic relationships. They even find her law's infatuation with women disgusting. They go to the Patriarchy Museum for a visit. Rada seizes the opportunity to question her law, but unexpectedly, he denies it. In fact, Rada doesn't want to report her law. She disdains betraying others for social points. During the rest of the visit, the guardians not only fail to reflect on their actions, but they also develop inappropriate thoughts while looking at old society's women's magazines. This scene happens to be witnessed by her law. When they return to the living area, her law explains to his male comrades, normal men have feelings for women and should have the right to freely pursue romantic relationships. But Guardian Lucius has a slightly distorted understanding. He doesn't understand the concept of mutual affection. He unexpectedly approaches Rada, forcing her to undress. Fortunately, her law intervenes, stopping Lucius' behavior. This is the second time her law saves Rada. Rada has quite a fondness for him. They exchange names. Rada reminds her law to leave to Hill's town within half an hour. Otherwise, she will have to report him. Her law immediately starts to act, but there is a protective barrier around the town. It's not easy to get out. Meanwhile, in the savage zone, the leader's jealousy takes hold. He lures Juka to a sparsely populated area, arranging for his subordinates to teach her a lesson, ideally to make sure he cannot return. Unexpectedly, Juka takes a risk, bringing a lot of food for everyone, but the men are extremely loyal to the leader, and one of them attacks Juka with a shovel. Little did they know the sticks were all broken, yet the other party remained unharmed. Fortunately, Juka didn't get angry. Instead, he gathered everyone together. He believed that the leader's actions were wrong, and advocated for instilling notions of equality and fairness in men. Then he went back to focusing on searching for food. Little did he know the men outside were plotting to use expired canned food to harm Juka. Unexpectedly, a gang of bikers arrived, smashing their bottles and bullying everyone. Fortunately, Juka returned in time and drove away the biker gang. However, another unexpected event occurred quickly. The leaders of Hill's town were involved in a romantic relationship with the leader. As a result, she learned about Juka being set up. The female leader quickly identified her law's identity and ordered her subordinates to enter emergency mode. Meanwhile, her law found Rada, explaining that they couldn't escape. At that moment, all the street lights turned red, and a warning message was broadcasted, urging people outside to immediately go home, not to go out casually. Everyone followed the instructions and went back indoors. Only Rada and her law hid behind the bushes. The smart ring then issued a wanted notice for her law. He simply took off the ring and threw it away. Rada let her law in their escape. Unexpectedly, all of this was witnessed by Rada's betrayed female friend. Rada took her law to her grandmother's house. The secretary of the leader was conducting searches everywhere. They quickly discovered their location. The two of them quickly hid inside a wardrobe. Grandma also stuffed her illegally kept pet cat inside. The secretary searched outside. Her law was allergic to cat fur and wanted to sneeze. Rada quickly pinched his nose. Just as the secretary was about to leave, the little cat sneezed. Their location was exposed. Grandma knocked out the secretary. She pushed out a motorcycle, enabling Rada to leave with her law. As long as the motorcycle's speed was fast enough, they could penetrate the sea's protective layer. Unexpectedly, Rada's mother appeared. Grandma swiftly tackled and held her down. Her law quickly took Rada and fled. The two of them rode the motorcycle, accelerating. They successfully broke through the protective layer. They changed their clothes and spent the night by the campfire. Her law used the excuse of getting closer to keep warm and stayed close to Rada all the time. On the other side, the leader returned from the hills to the wildlands, but unexpectedly discovered his subordinates had provided the supplies. They had actually divided the food. The leader asked whose idea it was. Juka immediately stepped forward. Realizing that Juka was still alive, he knew that his subordinates had rebelled. He instinctively grabbed the meat cleaver from the table, intending to deal with Juka on the spot. The subordinates quickly explained Juka had just stepped forward to protect everyone. Due to everyone watching, the leader had no choice but to put down the knife. He agreed to sit down and talk. Juka proposed the wildlands should advocate for democracy, while the other party kept urging him to drink tea. Juka didn't like the taste inside the cup. He didn't drink that beverage. Hungry Max picked it up and drank it. As a result, he suddenly felt unwell all over and immediately fainted. Indeed, the leader still intended to harm Juka. Little did they know, the mentality of the people has already changed. They took advantage of the night to smash the leader's windows. Under Juka's leadership, they demanded the right to democracy. They even nominated Juka to replace him. The leader was left with no choice. He had to secretly contact the female leader, Vera. She advised him to agree to the elections, but it should accord to his own rules. The leader called for Dino to let him participate in the elections and act opportunistically. Unexpectedly, when the elections concluded, Dino unexpectedly succeeded in being elected. The people didn't like the leader's autocracy. At the same time, they also didn't trust Juka from the hills. The leader wasn't angry. On the other side, Rada was still in a deep sleep. Her law roasted a small squirrel. He called the other person to wake up and have a meal. Two archers immediately caught up. They hurriedly ran away. Rada was accustomed to a pampered life. She didn't run far before tripping, twisting her ankle. Her law picked her up and ran. Unexpectedly, the next moment, she slipped and fell into a pit. She bumped her head on a wooden stake and fainted. The two of them were captured and taken back to the wildlands. The leader believed that Rada belonged to him, but it caused dissatisfaction among the people. Dino, as the newly appointed leader, proposed a competition. Only the winner could have Rada. Everyone walked into the courtyard, preparing for a slapping competition. They happened to see Juka waking up. He effortlessly lifted a large bathtub for a shower. If they were to have a slapping competition, the only one who could win is Juka. He excitedly greeted her law, leading her law and the other into the house for a meal. Everyone knows Juka possesses immense strength. If they rely on slapping to determine the winner, others won't have an advantage. So they changed the competition to a poker game. Rada couldn't listen anymore. She angrily stood up. Women are not objects. No one can decide whom she belongs to. The women from the wildlands found it reasonable. She also didn't like the rules of male superiority. Juka stood up for Rada. The status of men and women should be equal. The leader hinted at Dino to stop Rada from speaking and acted as a mediator, delivered a speech in support of Rada. In an attempt to win everyone's support, Rada didn't adapt well to this life. She just wanted to leave quickly, but Grandpa noticed that her law liked Rada. He deliberately lied. He wouldn't deliver goods to the hills recently. There was no opportunity to infiltrate civilized society. He suggested Rada stay here temporarily for 2 weeks. Nevertheless, there were others coveting Rada's beauty, more than just her law. The leader deliberately concealed Rada's whereabouts from Vera. He wanted to possess Rada. Meanwhile, her law found Juka. She asked him to talk to Rada, to persuade Rada to willingly stay here. Juka immediately agreed, and went to talk to Rada right away. Unexpectedly, he couldn't convince Rada. Instead, she made him feel homesick. Juka started missing coffee and massages, the days of relaxation. He proposed to Rada to escape tonight. Unexpectedly, her law suddenly arrived. He said Dino asked everyone to gather in the courtyard. Dino announced, the establishment of the wildlands constitution starts today, using enticing conditions to gain everyone's agreement. But there is a hidden additional clause in the constitution that Dino will transfer power to the leader. The people are unaware. They are giving their consent by imprinting their handprints. In the evening, Juka and Rada gathered together, discussing their escape plan. Reluctantly, the man took out a cup and liquor. It would be difficult to drink it after leaving the wildlands. Juka strongly recommended strong liquor to Rada. They got drunk. He wanted to make advances on Rada, but he was rejected. Juka didn't like people resisting. He planned to use force. When Herla arrived at the scene, he only saw Juka clutching his crotch rolling on the bed. He went downstairs to find Rada. Rada was sitting by the bonfire feeling depressed. Even Juka didn't respect her. Herla quickly distanced himself from his male counterparts. He took off his coat and gave it to Rada. He was being extremely considerate. Not only that, he also brought roasted chicken for Rada. Rada tasted something so delicious for the first time. She felt curious about things she had never done before, especially romantic relationships, which were strictly forbidden in the hills. What exactly was going on? Herla suggested starting with a kiss. Rada opened her clothes. She said, "You can do whatever you want." Herla was about to lean in, but Rada's mother interrupted. No one knows what agreement she had been reached to ensure her daughter's safe return to Tuius, and for Herla to be able to go back as well. Herla and Rada followed their mother back to Two Hills. Just as the car stopped at the entrance, Herla was hit by an anesthetic gun. It turned out that Rada's mother, Mary, made a deal with Vera. As long as Rada brought Herla back to face punishment, Rada would be spared from punishment. When Herla woke up, she found herself tied up in front of everyone. The committee decided to execute Herla. However, Two Hills town was very humane. The prison conditions were comparable to a hotel. They even provided exquisite breakfast. The AI butler advised her to enjoy her last hour of life. Herla opened the door. Only a short fence was in front of the yard. Rada rode by on a bicycle. Herla excitedly ran towards her, but the fence suddenly rose high. Then the police shot her. No one could escape from Two Hills prison. After waking up, Herla was tied to a chair. She received the first dose of poison injection. The judge stated the second dose would be injected into hours. Rada ran up to the stage upon hearing this and kissed Herla in front of everyone. The onlookers felt nauseous and wanted to vomit. But at that moment, Rada was lying at home. Could it be that everything just now was fake? Her best friend came to see Rada and turned on the television. A clip of Herla and Rada kissing was playing. It turned out that the previous scenes were all Herla's imagination. Two Hills has abolished the death penalty. They just put Herla in a dormant confinement, in a dream-to-like state, to undergo virtual punishment. The images in Herla's mind are being broadcasted in real time. Rada found the Guardians, pleading for their help to save Herla. The Guardians have been taken care of by Herla. They promised to restore Herla's freedom. The Guardians staged a public protest. They stated, if Herla is not released, they will refuse to donate seeds. Herla is unaware that she's trapped in a virtual environment. She keeps kissing Rada continuously, but unexpectedly, the woman pushes her away and starts airing a hard advertisement. People around are still applauding. Herla doesn't know what's going on. The countdown is about to end. Herla is strapped to the execution chair to receive the second injection. For the uninformed Herla, the fear of death becomes incredibly real. He was ready to ascend to heaven, but instead he is trapped in a dark space. An intelligent roulette wheel will determine Herla's next incarnation. As they watch the wheel stop spinning, the arrow points to an icon of a plastic bag. In the next moment, Herla turns into a garbage bag and is blown by the wind to Two Hills. Drifting alone, everyone feels it's inhumane. They raise their fists in protest. Even Mary stands by her daughter's side. Vera has no choice but to speak up. Just as everyone is about to be convinced by her, Herla starts daydreaming again. The scene on the television shifts to the sea. Herla and Rada are performing. Famous scene from the Titanic. He sacrifices his own survival to save the woman he loves. The atmosphere of everyone being moved is perfectly portrayed. Rada suddenly raises sponsorship, and she starts advertising again. Yet she's still moved by Herla's imagined theater. The judge pleads on her behalf. Rada assures Herla will abide by the law from now on. She vouches for her as a civilized person. Mary is also willing to take responsibility for this. Finally, this matter is resolved satisfactorily. Rada leads Herla to the inn, asking her to stay here. Herla wants to kiss Rada, but he is pushed away. Rada says that everything from yesterday was just a dream. We should maintain social distance. On the other side, in the savage zone, Juka's temperament changes drastically after being rejected by Rada. He becomes even more furious than the leader. He swears to win Rada back. Juka sits in the leader's office. He accidentally discovers a locked drawer. He smashes the lock directly. He finds a ring inside. Soon, the savage zone faces a crisis. They have a power outage. Juka has to replace the leader. To obtain electricity for everyone, he uses the ring he found in the drawer to contact Vera, to resume the previous secret transaction, to exchange alcohol for electricity. Unexpectedly, Vera hands up directly, because a new round of elections is about to begin. She shouldn't be caught due to any mistakes. Meanwhile, Mary, in order to campaign, gives the Guardians the latest hats, but the color is too green. On the other side, Carla is awakened by the butler. He picks up the toothbrush prepared for him. It takes 3 seconds to complete the cleaning. The intelligent butler can also print any food. When Mary and her daughter arrive, he is devouring a chocolate shoe. He doesn't seem very intelligent. Rada is his guarantor. She must ensure that her law doesn't cause trouble. She kindly reminds him, on everyone's reign, there are 300 basic points. If it reaches 0, they will be kicked out of the hills. Her law promises to be careful. As a result, he was deducted 10 points for wasting food and using foul language. Rada leads him around for a tour, but she keeps getting deducted points along the way. Her friend coincidentally meets them on the road. She invites her law to play basketball together. The team doesn't lack players. Her law can only sit on the sidelines and watch. He realizes that the volleyball game has no scoring, no comparison between winning and losing. What's the fun in that? Encouraged by her law, they decide to keep score and determine a winner. Indeed, once it involves winning or losing, everyone is driven by a competitive spirit. During the game, her law keeps cheering for the female friend, which triggers Rada's jealousy. The tension on the volleyball court intensifies. Rada becomes exceptionally competitive. The female friend becomes even more extreme. She intentionally steps on the opponent's hand. Rada becomes very angry. During the game, she aims for the opponent's nose and delivers a powerful hit, causing the female friend to bleed from her nose. A conflict is about to erupt. The female friend angrily lunges at Rada. The volleyball court turns into a boxing ring. Vera immediately arrives at the scene. Unexpectedly, everyone denies fighting. She can only temporarily give up. The female friend apologizes to Rada. They reconcile. Her law also tries to join in, but Rada pushes him away. She believes her law brings negative influence. She wants to keep her distance from her law. Savage Zone. Juka is worried about the power supply. Suddenly, a little bee flies by. He runs to the beehive. Juka explains to everyone, the bees and the hills have gone extinct. If they can't obtain precious honey, they can't definitely exchange it for electricity. Someone hands him a stick. Juka jumps up and knocks down the beehive, happily holds it in his arms. Others hurriedly escape. Juka gets stung and ends up with a swollen face. He contacts Vera. They meet inside a van. Vera's eyes light up when she sees the honey. She enjoys taking a bite, but Juka's condition is not about electricity. He asks Vera to take him back to Two Hills. On the other side, to help her law improve his score, Mary and her daughter arrange a job for him to incubate spruce grouse eggs. Although her law doesn't want to be a chicken mom, he has no other choice. He obediently sits on a specially designed chair to hatch the eggs. He also patiently takes photos with the residents. Her law and Mary manage to regain some public support. Unexpectedly, everyone receives a message. Juka and Vera have conspired, claiming that they were attacked by her law and stranded in the Savage Zone. Suffering from bullying, Mary's approval rating drops to 3%. Juka tries to gain everyone's sympathy and returns to Two Hills once again. Vera also arranged for Rada to give him a massage. After Rada left, her law immediately comes to confront Juka. Unexpectedly, the other party is shameless, taking advantage of the fact that everyone won't believe her law. Her law angrily throws the apple against the wall. Little did he know, apples are sacred in Two Hills. His actions seriously crossed the line. Vera exposes her law's behavior to the public, broadcasting it on television and deducting 100 points. Not only that, she also retrieves various recordings, finding excuses to deduct her law's social score. Even helping an old lady carry heavy objects leads to score deductions, claiming it as age and gender discrimination. The viewers of the live stream are discontented about this. They start voting for Mary as a way to protest against Vera's actions. The secretary notices the updated data, quietly reminding Vera, but the queen only wants to deduct all of his points, so she calls Juka, accusing her law of maliciously attacking. As long as her law's points are deducted, Rada's family will also be reset to 0. Her law's 300 points are completely deducted. In a critical moment, suddenly she gains 1 point. It turns out the female friend saw him incubating the eggs and recently donated 1 point to her law. It has just been credited. Everyone follows suit when they see this. They donate points to her law. At this moment, her law feels a pain in her buttocks. He actually hatched a chick. Mary, who proposed the Spruce Grouse plan, received 45% support rate. Rada found her law, telling him to be more serious. This is not a game. Any slight mistake, we will be expelled from Hills Town. Herlaw is extremely disappointed upon hearing this. He decides to leave. Herlaw deliberately approaches the gatekeepers and steals the remote control. While they are not paying attention, he opens the protective shield and runs out. Unexpectedly, he is chased by a drone. While Herlaw frantically avoids a tranquilizer gun, he accidentally crashes into a passing van. The illegally transported alcohol in the van spills all over the floor. Vera is afraid of the incident being exposed. She decides to divert everyone's attention. She contacts the leader, asking them to arrange an attack on Hills. The injured Herlaw is taken to the operating room. Mary and her daughter wait outside. Fortunately, he is not seriously hurt. The medical advancements in Hills are beyond imagination. The three of them go to the lottery event. All those who have accumulated enough social points can seize this opportunity to draw the seed of the Guardian. Rada is not interested in having children. She takes Herlaw around for a leisurely stroll. Everywhere there are exhibitions about reproduction, using this to encourage everyone to participate in the lottery. Become a mother soon, and the consciousness of the female friend gradually awakens. She wants to try a natural conception. After struggling, she turns to Herlaw for help. Herlaw's first reaction is to seek Rada's opinion, although Rada is unwilling. But due to face saving, she says she won't interface with Herlaw's decision. Herlaw agrees first. Later, this year's lucky person is announced. Unexpectedly, the winner is Rada. Mary rushes over to congratulate her daughter, but Rada can't be happy. The best friend takes Herlaw away. She wants to be pregnant on the same day as her best friend, Rada. The two of them return to the bedroom together, but Herlaw loves Rada deeply. He breaks free from her and returns to the hall. Rada sees him appearing. She refuses the drawn seed and walks straight toward Herlaw. Who knows, the next second, the leader arrives. He grabs Herlaw, causing everyone to misunderstand Herlaw as a spy. Someone rushes out and grabs Rada. The whole hall becomes chaotic. The barbarians run wild everywhere. The leader captures Mary. He goes to collect the reward as instructed by Vera, but he finds the box empty. The leader hides and contacts Vera. Only then does he realize he has been used. Vera only wants to deal with Mary and obtain all the votes. The police immediately arrive. They surround the leader and the others. The barbarians threw a bottle of expired soda at them, and it exploded in the sky. Everyone took advantage of the chaos to escape. Herlaw found Rada and followed her to hide in a house. Meanwhile, Mary was still in the hands of the leader. She was captured and taken to the seed storage room. Vera had control of the situation. She guided everyone on TV to suspect Herlaw and announced the reset of her points. Mary and her daughter were also going to be expelled. Herlaw and Rada were locked in a room by the butler. They couldn't find a way out. On the other side, Mary was unwilling to wait for her fate. She proposed a cooperation to the leader. The two of them took the seeds from the storage room and walked out. The leader pretended to hold Mary hostage and threatened the police with the seeds. That was the result of the Guardians' 2 years of work. The police didn't dare to act recklessly. Vera, for the sake of the votes, couldn't risk the seeds, could only watch as the two of them left. Meanwhile, Herlaw and Rada intentionally showed affection, continuously breaking the rules, disrupting the smart butler system. They took the opportunity to escape from the room. They drove to the city outskirts and found Mary and the leader. Rada called her mother to get in the car. Unexpectedly, the leader dragged Herlaw out of the driver's seat and drove away with Mary and her daughter. Rada couldn't leave Herlaw behind. She struggled desperately in the car, causing the pickup truck to drive into a puddle. Vera received the news and was very satisfied. She approached her new partner, Juka, ready to abandon the former pawn, the leader. At this moment, Herlaw went to find the Guardian, Lucius. He explained that the riot was Vera's plan. He convinced him to help. They set off on bicycles and broke through the barriers with incredible speed. When they arrived back at the barbarian territory, they realized that Mary and her daughter were not there. Lucius called his companions and learned that the two were captured by Vera, along with the captured barbarians. They were all going to be sent to the Pacific to pick up garbage. Herlaw accidentally saw her grandfather's computer screen. It turns out Mary's grandmother was his classmate. The old man learned that his first love was still alive. He quickly took out a hidden military computer and quickly located Rada. They followed the computer's location and searched for her. Unexpectedly, they ran into a barrier. Then a few motorcycle gangs appeared. Surprisingly, the secretary opened the door for them. The three who were secretly observing realized that behind the barrier was an apple orchard. Vera was profiting from trading these fruits. The motorcycle gangs were responsible for transporting drunkards to work as laborers. They needed to find a way to enter the barrier, but the protective layer here was far superior to the two hills. Kurla came up with a method. He pretended to be drunk on the path where the motorcycle gangs passed, and was captured by them. Little did they know Kurla wasn't taken to the orchard. Instead, he arrived at the motorcycle gang leader's place. The female leader would select the uses of the drunkards. She saw Kurla as young and strong, and dressed him in pet clothes. He sat her in a prearranged vehicle and set off. The vehicle quickly reached the destination. The person waiting there was actually Vera. The pet transported by the leader were all for her pleasure, because Kurla was wearing a special mask. Rada, who was serving a sentence in the garden, didn't recognize the other person. In fact, Rada and others never went to the Pacific. Instead, they were used as private slaves by Vera. She dispersed the crowd and had a private conversation with the leader. Kurla was tied up outside by the henchman. He saw Rada nearby. He happily caught her over. Kurla had Lucius' ring hidden in his mouth. He asked Rada to find an opportunity to secretly film incriminating evidence against Vera and find a way to release it publicly into Hills. In the evening, Vera's pleasure party began. Rada quietly sneaked in to take photos. Unexpectedly, Juka recognized Kurla's tattoo and forcefully removed his mask. Vera pushed Kurla away. Kurla bumped into a table. Rada, hidden under the table, was also exposed. The motorcycle gang followed orders and captured the two. The secretary took Rada's ring and discovered the covertly taken photos inside, and they had already been sent to someone into Hills to prevent the scandal from being exposed. Vera planned to burn down the secret orchard and burn the slaves inside as well. The person who received Rada's photos turned out to be her best friend, Ia. She publicly displayed the photos in front of everyone. Vera hurriedly arrived, claiming that they were maliciously edited. Due to the serious nature of the accusation, Leader Yada from Mother City came to inspect. She would stay into Hills to continue the investigation. Vera nervously accepted the meeting with the leader. The leader requested an investigation into all accounts. She dismissed Yada, hastily destroyed the prohibited items in the office. Yada didn't find any evidence for now, preparing for a large-scale search starting tomorrow. On the other side, Rada is still serving her sentence in the orchard. Juka occasionally comes over to flatter her, but Rada's attitude is cold. Grandma, on the other hand, sees it as an opportunity. She instructs Rada to please him and find an opportunity to escape. Rada follows her grandmother's instructions. She leans against a tree and flirts. Juka falls for it. He invites Rada into the tent, but he's not in the mood for romance. Juka explains, Vera wants to burn down the orchard. The top priority is to leave this place. He knows a small path. Just as they reach a crucial point in their conversation, Kurla suddenly rushes in and knocks out Juka. Without mentioning the crucial clue, Kurla and Rada are also captured by the motorcycle gang and interrogated. At a critical moment, a garbage truck arrives. The leader and Grandpa emerge from the trash bin. It turns out they had escaped using the garbage truck earlier, yet the leader fell in love with Mary. That's why he came back to save them. He shoots one of the motorcycle gang members in the leg. He orders the slaves to capture all the enemies. Meanwhile, after struggling with her decision, she presses a button and blows up the entire orchard. All the enemies perish and she successfully takes over. She is in the midst of the final ceremony. Unexpectedly, the secretary presents sponsorship for an advertisement. This reveals that everything at the moment is fake. Vera screams in despair. After the ugly photo incident, she has been convicted. She is currently undergoing dormant imprisonment. The explosion did not happen. Kurla and Rada are safe and sound. Everything was just Vera's imagination. Mary successfully becomes the mayor, yet the education she received since childhood has not changed. Mary declares her intention to eradicate all the barbarians. This season ends here. The second part is already in production. The Two Hills town and the barbarian district represent extreme matriarchal divided by patriarchal societies. The director uses excellent comedic effects to portray two completely different environments. If you like my channel, please subscribe to my channel.